Welcome back, everyone. It's been so long since we've streamed, it feels like.
Your timing on that was beautiful, by the way.
Okay, it's an accident. It is a fixed length of a song, but you know what? We'll cut it, right? This is all being pre-recorded. We're not doing this. Wait, there's chat.
We get to pre-record.
We're live! No, bad jokes aside, we're very happy to return at last. We haven't had a session in 2 weeks.
Painful.
As far as I can tell, something to do with a sorcerer froze the city of Austin.
Basically. Pretty much.
It's been very cold here. Due to some stuff going on in the background here, we unfortunately weren't able to get everyone together. But we are very happy to say that we'll be having another session here in just a couple of days. This Friday, we'll be back for session 20.
Could not come sooner. But yeah, and here I thought there was something in the water. Oh wait, that's
there's also a thing.
Okay, that is, but that's dark. Let's talk about you, Jake, Victoria. Tell me how you both have been since we last saw you on here.
Starved for D&D, even though I've gotten to roll some dice in the past few weeks. But I miss our table. I miss our characters. I miss our table.
Very much so. I think I found myself at our local game shop like 2 or 3 times, like just staring at like adventure books because like, where's my next session? When's my next roll? I missed it.
And the problem also is that we're coming up to a heist, and I've been screaming about it now for 3 weeks straight.
There's been a book that I never considered reading, and it fell on my lap solely because Victoria kept saying, heist, 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 heist. Actually, it was a very good book.
Six of Crows?
That was it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Six of Crows. I forced everybody to read Six of Crows with me, and we liked it.
It was super fun, actually. Yeah. Heists are the best thing in the world. What can we say?
Hey, good old fantasy's great.
Close friend of the channel, Allison, actually mentioned, we haven't streamed in so long, our hair is longer than when we were last seen.
Oh no, it really has.
It's bad. I didn't do my hair properly, so it's a little dirty now. Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
No.
Jake.
I had to take my glasses off for that one.
That exists on the internet forever.
Unfortunate.
But I am glad, and I will say, Victoria kind of alluded to it, we haven't been able to play a session here on stream, but thanks to the advent of technology, we've done a little bit of stuff on Roll20. Mm-hmm. And before we get into anything too in-depth, because we got all the time in the world, we didn't have a session on Friday, we just get to kind of hang out tonight.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have the ability to have a session. I didn't run a one-shot. I have run a couple of something that we call here in our background fight clubs. So Jake and Victoria, have you both been in at least 2 of them, or Jake, was that your first fight club?
I had been in one, but that was back when everything we did was digital,
all on Roll20.
Yeah, exactly.
You were there for Tiamat?
Yeah. He was
the giant dragon.
That was it. I was because
you
let me play a cleric, and I just I want to play a
cleric.
Again.
You did summon Bahamut in a fight.
I tried 3 times, I think. 2 times.
Oh, okay.
2 times and nothing. I never rolled.
Well, so regardless, what a fight club is something that we did where we wanted to have, we want to play more Dungeons and Dragons, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get get a real campaign going. And so normally the downgrade we go to, and a lot of tables go to, is a one-shot. I love one-shots. I've run a good handful of them now with our friends, but a one-shot typically is a self-contained story. Think about it like a standalone movie and a campaign being more of a series of movies. Yeah. But a fight club, now you can have story in a fight club, but the way that we run our fight clubs is truly one of our players might suggest they'd really like to try fighting a monster, or there's a class or feature they'd like to try out. And so I build an encounter with that in mind.
Yeah. The nice thing about fight clubs, in my opinion, is the lift for the DM is not as high as a one-shot. You're still having to plan, and people still have to make characters.
Sure.
And you're still having to schedule, but you have usually less time.
It's closer to a 1-to-1 time investment. An hour-long fight club I should be able to prep in an hour or less.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
Which is not the case for how my campaign prep works.
Yeah, and so it's nice in that way. It's nice as a player because maybe you don't want to... Okay, I love one-shots and fight clubs for this one reason. I might want to try a class or a multi-class or something, but it's like got awkward levels. Mm-hmm. You can just jump into it. Oh, we're going to play at level 8? Great, I can jump into my idea at level 8, or maybe play something I wouldn't have normally played.
Yeah, exactly.
It also is a huge way, like, in regards to that high level, if you're thinking about in a campaign playing a certain class, maybe that you've never tried before, but you like the concept, well, if it ends up being the case that high level play, there's a big worry of like, what if I don't like it high level, at 10th level? Well, being able to try it beforehand in a no-stakes environment is really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I need to multi-class? I don't know. Do you want to try it?
And you get to try out, like she said, some crazy combinations, like a Bard Ranger. It's a real banger, if you ask me.
Now, we're going to start with you, Jake. How did your
Bard
fight...
Ranger, banger? I thought...
I forgot.
It was the B instead of an R. It's like Sorlog.
You don't need to.
Someone get the hook. Pull him off stage.
I'm just really proud of myself.
Now, so I ran two
I
of
was
these...
like, when did you play a bard?
No,
Right? Okay, thank
I'm
you,
just
thank
being-
you. I'm slow on the uptake today.
I'm going to stop there.
So we ran two of these fight clubs in the time since we last saw you. These aren't real games. There's not as much story to talk about. Just a little bit, basically a small blurb and go. Now, Victoria, you played in both of them, so we're gonna get to you second. Jake, you participated in one which we ran in our setting, The World We Know. We ran this actually very close to it was very much related to what's going on in our campaign, but just a piece of fluff for our own benefit. How did it go for you, Jake?
So, I always had this class that I was like, I'll never play it. And it's a wizard. I will never wanted to play a wizard for some reason. Blows my mind because wizard it's a freaking wizard.
They're cool, but you don't have to like to play them.
Exactly. Like I cast a spell. What else do I do? Don't get me wrong. You do everything when you cast a spell, but give me a hammer and I'm happy. So here I am playing a wizard, and let me just say I think it was the character of everything that was good. It was so sweet as a little old man. I didn't really know what was going on. I think I had the dementias, but I remember my spells, except for most of them, and then I died, I think. But it was phenomenal.
You
did
did.
die.
You
Should
did.
have died.
We did have a character death in our fight club.
Actually, my first character death ever. It took me a second to realize it. I have never had a character die on me until Fight Club, and it was beautiful. I didn't know wizards aren't supposed to be on the front line.
It's actually kind of funny, but if you think about it, here on Stories to D4, we have people who've subscribed, as you can see from the bar below. We have people who are following us on or subscribed on Patreon. I don't know what the word is for the verbial form of that.
Yeah.
Our patrons as well. We kind of refer to that community communally as our scribes. And actually, our first ever scribe, our first supporter here on the channel, is a dear friend of mine, Jason. And I believe it was Jason who landed the killing blow.
Yep.
He literally told, I think, somewhere upwards of 20 archers to shoot the wizard, and you rolled all of those at me.
Yes. So
Brutal.
sometimes what we'll do in Fight Club is it'll be, as we kind of alluded to, we've done big battles where they wanted to fight a Tiamat, a version of Tiamat. And so a big boss versus some strong PCs. In this case, we had a party of adventurers, or more likely mercenaries, versus a villain played by a dear friend and his mercenary gang, who I ran on the rest of the NPCs. The very weak. Most of them had 1 or 2 hits worth of health, whereas Jason was playing very strong. And you actually ended up dying in this one, which isn't common in our fight clubs.
This is what I was saying earlier. Wizard has just never interested me. I feel like I always have to be somewhere
Wizard.
next to the front line, though. And I tried that rather unsuccessfully. It was fun trying a class that I don't play and probably won't play again.
Do you think you'll try again in a fight club, perhaps?
I think I'll try again in a fight club just because the type of wizard I played really showed me how dynamic I think some of them can be. I always thought wizards felt a little one note for some reason, and it's mostly because I never touched the class.
That's absolutely fair. And ECAT mentions here in chat actually that Wizard Barbarian seemed like something that he'd like to try out.
Would that be a bizard?
Wizbarian was his suggestion.
Wizbarian. Actually, that's
I would call it Jock in the Math Club.
Yeah, a non-bow.
Hey, it happens. It happens. But yeah, so the one shot, it was so fun. I got to play something I never would, but more importantly, I don't know if I'm it's in all these video games, just that boss gauntlet. You fight them over and over again.
Yes.
You get to fight this hard thing. You get to plan your team a little bit and try a strategy. That's something I live for. Seeing that in D&D, even in a small little bubble, my favorite thing.
Well, roll more dice, everyone. Now,
Basically.
Victoria, you played in that game, but we played another one in a different system. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. In both of these games, I played a sniper with spells to augment my abilities or help myself in some way.
Okay.
In both of them, I had the opportunity to, or almost the opportunity to, but both of them I did bring resurrection magic. Can I say the second system?
You're allowed to talk entirely about it.
The first one, I was a Gloomstalker Ranger in Dungeons & Dragons, and then a week later, I was an engineer in Star Wars 5th Edition. I was an arms tech engineer.
They have
and-
resurrection.
Yeah, defibrillate.
Yes.
You zap somebody back to life.
So-
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
One cool thing about that Star Wars 5e is that they separate their powers into force powers and tech powers. So whereas spells can be arcane or divine or nature-based, they've got two strict categories in Star Wars 5e.
yeah, I
Okay,
felt
that
a
makes
little bit
sense.
like you for a second though, because my sniper rifle was my
Main thing.
my
Spellcast.
my spellcasting focus was my rifle.
This is my gun.
Okay.
It was very, very fancy.
Yeah,
Guns are
this
fun.
is the way. But I love Star Wars 5th edition.
I'm gonna hit
I
the
love
music
the
one more time.
okay. I love the casting. I love the engineer class specifically.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have not played a Force user, but I've played multiple engineers now, and I love it because everything that exists to a degree in regular Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, you see that in the Star Wars 5th edition. Obviously, they're basing it off of Dungeons and Dragons. But for example, like the Monk class, you start to read it, and it's very similar to the one in
Flurry of blows.
yeah, you have all the same abilities, it feels like, but then you get to the end of the page where you normally would stop and it just keeps going, because now you've got these, I think they're vows that you can take, the subclasses, the species. It's a really fun system.
Okay, and I guess I'm kind of asking, like, I know D&D was something you picked up kind of a little bit later, like 20s or something in life. Star Wars is something I feel like our generation was, like, born into.
Yes,
I feel like the past three of them.
yeah, we were raised in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
I want to say this year is 40 years since Return of the Jedi.
No way. Please
I
tell me no.
believe it's 40 years since Return of the Jedi this year or next year.
But I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love Star Wars. I love them both together. And there's, like with Dungeons and Dragons, once you start to get into the game, you have all these character ideas in your head. You know, I've now got that problem with three systems, where I've got a bunch of different character ideas that are all just kind of spiraling around, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can pull, because I did 2 weeks in a row play the same kind of character, a ranger, and then an arms tech engineer, both
Yeah.
using sniper abilities, both trying to like stay as far out of combat as possible. I had a 600-foot range,
Yes.
Yeah.
so
That's crazy.
you know,
600 and then the long range I believe was 2,400 for that weapon.
And I had, and what's great about the tech powers too is one of the tech powers is energy shield. So I'm basically a ranger, but I can also shield myself like a regular
That's
wizard
super
can.
nice.
Our mod just confirmed next year is 40 years.
All right.
I was close. I'm
No,
gonna.
it's not. It could not have been 40 yet.
Yeah.
That makes me feel old. I'm not over 40, I promise.
If you are over 40, you look I mean, you already. This is already true, but you'd look even more incredible for 40.
But I will continue to sing the praises of Star Wars 5e.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What was the third system, if you don't mind me asking? You said you had characters for 3 systems?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've dabbled a little bit before in the past in Pathfinder, and I love
First edition.
That's
First
super-
edition. And I've played the Kingmaker game. We started on the new one.
I looked into Kingmaker.
Wrath of
because
the Righteous.
Wrath of the Righteous.
actually.
I don't know why I say Wrath of the Lion.
It's not Wrath of the Lich King, but I
Are you
have
thinking
played
of
that.
the name of Jaws of the Lion?
I'm thinking of Glimmer
Okay.
Jaws of the Lion. I'm getting them all mixed up.
There's so many names.
There's a lot in Pathfinder First Edition that I think is a lot of fun, and there's again so many different combinations of things you can do. You could get lost on the page.
Totally fair.
So Star Wars 5e, I want to, as Victoria kind of mentioned, we both actually are pretty big evangelists of the system to a degree. At least here at our table, we like to sometimes talk about different systems we've tried. With Star Wars 5e, I will say the basic rules of the game, so when you're on the ground fighting with weapons, they are 5th edition. So you're making attack rolls, you're making ability checks, you're making saving throws. You're adding proficiency bonus based to certain things if you're proficient in that skill. Weapons have damage dice. All of the core rules are very similar, but what really changes is that we've talked before about the spectrum of the different ways that things can change. That things change between systems. In Star Wars 5e, it's a step closer to Pathfinder in one particular area, in the amount of customization options. So let's say you wanted to build a Jedi. Now that's obviously a very common archetype to want to play in something like Star Wars. You won't, and you pick the Guardian, which is very similar to Paladin. You have the ability to add extra damage dice to your swings by expending spell slots. You have the ability to heal using your action. Those are all very familiar things. But in addition to picking that, you get to pick fighting styles, like you do in 5e, lightsaber forms, weapon focuses. You have all these different options in your character build generally speaking, there is no bad level. Cleric is an amazing class in 5th edition.
Yeah.
But
Don't come for my cleric.
But the even levels on Cleric are, to an extent, less exciting than the even levels on some classes.
Are we about to fight?
Okay.
You don't disagree with what I'm saying with.
No, but I don't want you coming for my cleric.
You know how you look at that list of levels whenever you're in the PHB or like looking across different sources and you see like level 1 and there's like that little box of like things like features you get for that class, and there's every couple levels or every other level it's like
Always
blank.
just look for extra attack. What more do you need to see?
Well, every
Such a fighter.
they can be blank, and it's very rare to see a blank one in Star Wars 5th edition.
Yes.
It feels
That's
like
kinda cool.
Now-
always scale up.
And this is not to say that that makes the system better. In fact, I want to very much avoid that thought being established here. As Star Wars 5e is a system that accomplishes a different task. It's very focused on a specific setting. I don't... I think that in general, Star Wars 5e is really focused on Star Wars, and if you were to run another setting, you better be very talented and charismatic and have a very firm grasp of the setting you're using. So Brennan Lee Mulligan, what they're doing right now on Dimension 20,
Yeah, we're not-
absolutely phenomenal. If you're not watching stuff on Dropout, you should be watching things on Dropout.
Amazing.
They're absolutely killer. But they're running in the system that his mother made, actually. Yes. I'll
The
show you
more
some
you know.
afterwork. They have.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out
We
yet.
might still. I'm not sure if that came in the box here. We might still have actually some content where the graphic novels and comics are in the front room. We'll check after the stream. Sorry about that, everybody. But there's lots of so Star Wars 5e. You have to. It's a higher power system. Your characters have more options. I do think it's harder for new players to play.
Okay.
But I don't think that's. So you've played a 20th level character and done well.
Yeah. He didn't
and-
die.
True.
Um,
Well, he came back. He got better.
you had a bard helping you out.
There was a
Hold on.
moment where I
And-
almost turned into a zombie.
My
or something.
point being there are pros and cons to it. If you want to play a high-powered experience with higher customization in this setting, I don't think you could replicate it without using the mod. I don't think you could do as well.
But if you want to literally build Darth Maul out and not play Darth Maul, but like just say you're me or maybe you're you.
A Dathomirian with a double-bladed lightsaber.
Double-bladed lightsaber. Yeah, you can just do that.
It just exists.
So you can
just exist.
just to wrap my mind around it, you can play Darth Jar Jar, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He is a Sith Lord,
You
right?
can.
You can be a Gungan.
You can be. I've considered it
Please tell
a
me you're
lot.
kidding.
I'm not well versed.
Yusa shouldn't, though.
Yeah, but you can.
Bombad Jake is exactly what I want to see.
We're going to.
Well, hey,
Official.
maybe you'll try it out in one of our future fight clubs. I kind of want to gut. We have ECAT here in the chat, and I actually, if you're up for it, and I haven't shown either of you a lick of this,
Okay.
I want to start talking a little bit about our first subscriber reward that we've done. Before we announce February's the drawing for this month, I want to talk about what ECAT had done here. Now, so for those of you who may not have heard, we're doing this sort of drawing each month for one of our subscribers here on Twitch or for one of our patrons on Patreon. We roll some dice. And based on that, we're doing a little bit of a drawing to have a homebrew creature made for them. Now, these can be a low-level antagonist that might help you fill out a certain slot in your campaign. There could be an existing monster you like but needs to be tuned up or down a little bit or added a certain bit of spice to it. You like that dragon, but maybe it'd be a little bit more fun if he juggled knives. Whatever it is, just a little bit of a fun challenge for me as a DM to work alongside you. Maybe you'll play it in your home game. Maybe it'll show up here on stories in one of our campaigns.
Scared.
Fair. As long as I get a Triceratops, I'm happy.
But today I have a very big treat that I get to talk about my dear friend Trebor. So Trebor this is an NPC stat block that we've created, and we will be posting it on our Discord in the next couple of days here. Now, Trebor is a NPC, which means it does not actually have class levels.
Okay.
But it does have some features that are similar to classes. It's going to be a very familiar archetype. Looking at Trebor is going to be this sort of half-orc, barbarous person. Big battle axe, powerful studded leather armor, finely mastercrafted. But there are a couple interesting things about this, and we could talk a little bit about the flavor of this character, and then we'll move on to the stat block. You can talk about what you might have to fight sometime, maybe in the Battlesphere, maybe in the future.
Oh goodness, I didn't even consider Battlesphere.
Maybe on a
Oh my
one-shot, maybe in a fight club. But we will be seeing this one.
That's fun, though.
So Trebor is from a place in our setting known as the Koatlan Islands.
Oh,
So
okay. Flavor.
Wait, time out.
Spice.
Oh, Trebor exists, canonically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is also one of the first times I've seen you drop. This is from the Koatlan Islands, like.
Yeah.
No.
Have we not talked? I don't believe the Koatlan Islands have come up yet in
No.
our...
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I actually think it's important that we don't as...
Spoil?
No. It's not a spoiler. You can talk freely, of course. What I'm saying is I think it's good that our campaign hasn't gone, here is every kingdom and continent on their entire planet.
Yeah.
Every tavern keep is familiar with all of them.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Right.
Now-
I mean, it's the D&D pitfall. Like, talk to the tavern keeper and they can explain to you exactly how airships were created. That's not like a real world thing. Like, you
Exactly,
couldn't just
right.
go to a bar and ask the bartender and he can tell you the full makeup of like a tank from World War II. That's just not a thing.
Exactly, like, where's the big bad evil guy? Oh, he's just down the
Yeah.
corner on the left by the barbershop. No
Yeah.
one gets that information.
And so I want to tell you a couple things about Trebor. It's very simple, as the request was to kind of keep this a little bit light so it could be used where someone wants. And it's very easy to take the stat block itself, which again will be on our Discord, and strip the flavor of it, take away, you could take the name away from it if you'd like, and use this as a slightly amped up version of the Berserker, or if you'd prefer, it could also be related to a couple of the other humanoid style things. The big thing here is going to be, well, it'll be very apparent in just a moment what we've changed a little bit here.
I'm scared.
So the Koatlan Islands are an archipelago just south of Gren, with a number of small kingdoms that are there. Now, most notably is going to be the Moizar Collective, which is a high elven society that has been very much opposed to Chalcedonia for quite a number of years. Yes, due south
I
of Gren.
have always thought
Southerners.
I continue to think of the Koatlan Islands in the wrong direction, and I've been doing this for literal years. I always think they're north.
I can never remember. The King's Playground is where I always, for some reason, assume they are.
The
and I
King's
know that's not
Playground
right.
is what is the sea that is between Gren and the Koatlan Islands.
I was right!
You were entirely right. Yes,
Sorry.
you're allowed to
Calm
nerd
down.
out. Hey, we have maps. We should bring some of those maps maybe to stories so people can see in the near
Yeah.
future.
That would be fun.
Now, there's lots of places there, but Trebor is very much relatively happy where he is. Trebor has been living in the same place for quite some time, and Trebor essentially has two forms of visitors. So he lives on Mount Talanad, and there's two kinds of people who come there. There are noble elven warriors who have come to free the mountain from this barbarous orc, who are very promptly shown the very muddy side of the mountain to slide back down once he defeats them in single combat. Then there are those who come to hire him for his talent, immensely fabulous services. You see, Trebor, well mighty, blessed with great strength, also has quite a bright mind and is a talented tanner, having made some of the finest leather armor in the land.
So that's where his breastplate came from. You're telling us that he made that?
Well, so yes, so his studded leather he did create, and you might
Okay.
notice when we see the stat block, there's a slight difference in the numerics of what you'd expect from a mundane set of studded leather.
Okay.
But the important thing is here, both people who want to meet him essentially have come for one of his weapons, in a sense. So let's talk a little bit about mechanically what this guy is. So he's relatively low armor, but quite a bit of health, a little bit over 130 hit points here.
Okay.
I don't like that.
Be
and I have-
serious.
Now the big thing here is he has 3 features that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
And I actually think these are in order of how exciting they are. First, he has the Brute feature. Now, Brutes, they add an extra damage dice to their equipped weapons. Nothing too spicy, nothing too scary. It makes them a little bit more hardy, gives them a little bit better chance to take down a meddling elf of the Moizar.
Right, but one extra die to each swing or to each attack action?
To each swing.
There we go. That's the problem. Right there.
And actually, also,
scared.
just kind of asking, that applies for, like, critical damage too, because that's part
Yes,
of
so that would be.
It's a die roll.
Oh, it'll
Yeah.
be. It would be doubled in the case of a die
Now
of a
that's the
critical.
problem.
Yeah, think about that.
Next is
Remember
one that
dice.
is familiar to you. He has the Reckless feature, giving him the option to attack more recklessly than you normally would because of his bulk, because of his strength. He's allowing people to get easier hits on him by fully committing to his swings, giving advantage to his attack rolls.
Always attack recklessly. Good.
And finally, he has the Stench feature.
Oh God, is he like Connor?
Oh, you can't just burn Connor like that, my
I can't.
boy.
I just
you actually can.
did.
Connor, you got added on Footnotes. Now,
You can't harass people when they're not here to defend themselves.
Look, if I did you, I would have felt bad though.
Okay.
Now, Stench is actually something that I took from one of the fiendish characters in the monster manual. But what it is essentially is it prompts mechanically it prompts creatures that are within a certain radius at the start of their turns to make con saves or become poisoned. But in terms of why does this man have that, tanning, especially in the earlier go back in history when we're still working with leather. A lot of times tanneries won't actually be found in cities, but outside of them due to the different chemicals, the smell of flesh, of drying skin.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot.
Okay.
And so this, I decided to kind of keep this here because the idea of this stat block sort of assumes to a degree that he's recently been home, that he's continued his work. He's used to the smell. The smell's your problem.
Okay.
Okay.
I like it.
And so he's got 3 weapons, 2 of which are very simple. He's got a hand axe if he ever needs to do some ranged combat. He's not terribly proficient in ranged combat, preferring to do his fighting up close and dirty. He also has his battle axe, because as we mentioned that he is using that he's a brute. It's a 2d8 damage weapon, or 2d10 if held in 2 hands. But generally speaking, that won't come up, as he does have his trusty awl. Now, an awl, if for some of you might not know, is
I don't know.
can be used as a leather punch, and also for threading, essentially for threading during thick leather working. Awl is for punching through thick materials.
And he can.
Yes, he has a gauntlet that actually affixes the awl itself.
He's
Cons-
leather-working Wolverine.
Well, considering
Right?
that he works a lot with wargs and dire beasts
Oh,
for
you
the
kinda have
leather he
to.
creates, normally he's punching through leather that's an inch, 2 inches, or even thicker. He found at one point it was very useful. So everyone who comes up to the mountain is either going to receive the awl because they want to fight him, or is trying to recruit him to use it to make them something special.
So what I'm hearing is he often tans a hide. It's creepy. Look, that was actually I had like
Yes,
3.
you.
I had 3 punch prepared. That was one of the better ones.
Oh, Chloe, you heard it. He's writing his material beforehand.
Oh my god, I forgot about her theory. But no.
I've missed you, Jake.
And I do apologize for rambling here. I just wanted to talk because we have ECAT here. I thought it'd be
Yes.
nice to kind of reveal that here on stream. Now, I'm curious. Let's say you're a fledgling adventurer, or you're just someone in the setting. What are your thoughts on Trebor? What are you thinking about? What are your questions?
If I was a level 2 adventurer and
dope.
that was the tanner, and I've got a rogue in the party, and we all know this rogue, and they're like, I'm gonna steal his stock, I would leave the building. I
Yeah.
would
That's
let the
a-
rogue die.
Leave.
I would let the rogue
You
die.
disown the rogue.
The
Level
rogue
10.
dies. He
Okay.
re-rolls a character.
Here's
Done.
the thing. Here's the thing about NPCs. I want to see if you agree with me.
Okay.
There's very rarely that I want to attack a shopkeep.
I think that's good. I think that generally that
The only time I remember anyone attacking a shopkeep is you, though. I'm throwing that out there.
Who did I attack this time?
He was it wasn't really a shopkeep. He was more of a rich dude. You big beast hand someone.
Oh.
I used to do that all the time. Yeah, you're right.
right. Now, Jake
I
mentioned a
interrupted,
very
I'm
good
sorry.
point about murder hoboing. Now, murder hoboing doesn't have to, despite its name, is not literally just about killing,
Yeah.
but doing. That's what my character would do, or going out and I just want to. Everything is. We're going to play it more like a game, a video game, where you can kill anybody, steal anything, and it's fine. There's not necessarily big consequences.
You put a bucket over their head. We're playing this like they're people. They're gonna know that you did that.
And
you
we're-
stole from them.
We totally are conflating just murder hoboing and playing D&D in a way we don't like, but I think in this case it's okay to kind of discuss those, lump them together for a moment.
They're usually where there's one, there can frequently be the other.
Now,
Exactly. I think
if you're playing a campaign where that's the goal, go for
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Have
absolutely.
fun.
Win.
Burn down that inn. Burn down all the inns.
I only burned down 2.
even the innocent.
Jake!
Sorry. But, like, I can kind of see almost where someone wants to justify it like that. Like, I love playing evil characters. I love playing chaotic characters. That's what I live for. But I don't think I would ever play a character that would ruin someone else's fun. Like, I can't justify necessarily, like, this is what my character would do. Like, I want to play a thief soon.
Jake, you're
I'm
a
not
good...
gonna steal from,
you
like,
play
someone else.
Dungeons and Dragons well. We
being
sit
awful.
down together to have fun together.
Exactly.
So our goals are having fun. They are telling a story that we all get to be a part of. Well, certain sessions will be more related to Connor's backstory or Elle's current side quests. I don't ever want characters to feel like they don't matter. That
Exactly.
their character, if their character just disappeared, that the session wouldn't change is unacceptable.
Right.
That's why if we know that people are going to be out, the session itself ends up being quite a bit different than if they were there.
It's true. And it's...
It's not just about balancing encounters, it's also about balancing, like, the story.
Yeah, I'll handle the math. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I think, like, kind of what I find a little bit, like, hard to deal with those kind of players is we are still a party. Like, we have a goal, we have a thing, and you can be chaotic. You can be the one that, like, I grew up stealing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
How is that going to get you to the end of the day, end of campaign? And how is that going to get you working with your party? Even a chaotic and evil person
Right.
wouldn't screw their party members over. They have their own goals. Like, it's more than just this is what my character would do. If that's your answer, you haven't fleshed out your character, and it's not a real good excuse. Sorry,
Right.
I'm bitter at, like,
No.
murder hobos.
I also have to agree that with the part of the creative mind behind Trebor here in the chat. And
Oh gosh,
say,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I absolutely also want to walk into a bar and just shoot the bar owner in the face.
Right.
Like, there is a desire for that as a player, I think, and for some of us, maybe to varying degrees.
Yeah,
where we
everyone
just
wants to have an evil campaign.
I'd love to have a one-shot where, now,
Can we be the little imps coming up from the ground and attacking a town?
I was going to say, what about doing something? Now, I'll admit, making it a little more slapstick than super serious might
For
be a little
all
more
kobolds.
fun here.
For all
But having
kobolds.
kobolds or goblins or Bapikaras, which you'll meet in the future, there's all sorts of strange little, like maybe playing some sort of little chaos goblin, but doesn't have to be literally a goblin.
Yeah.
Playing something where you get to be the baddies and you're gonna go, your goal is to steal the bucket in the well in the middle of town and also to give every single tavern keep a black eye. Whatever. You can do a chaos thing and you can even take it serious. If your table wants to play something where your goal is to pillage the village, I mean,
rhymed.
just because that isn't our game, that doesn't necessarily make it a problem.
Yeah.
Talk with your players about what sort of game they want to play.
Yeah.
If everybody's on the same page with it, then that's, I mean, you know, like whenever you talk about playing an evil campaign, you open a lot of doors, so it's got to be with a table that
Yes.
you're comfortable with. And
We've done
people
evil
that-
one-shots.
Yes.
I would not DM for an evil campaign. I just don't think I could ever have that level of, like, skill.
If you dungeon master for an evil party, you have to realize that what you're signing up for is, I am going to be the person that they are going to kidnap and murder and
Yes.
beat up and be rude to the whole time.
Don't sound fun.
When you play, I play villains, so I have to be mean to you guys sometimes, but I also get to be brothers, friends, mothers, like people who want to, allies, people who want to work with you, people who get to sing your praises in the street.
Joseph.
But if you play just an evil campaign, it is harder, so I really think it takes, you have to have a very steady hand.
It
for that
takes a
sort of
lot of
thing.
trust between players at the table, the DM and the players. You know, there's a lot of that going on there because, again, people's boundaries also. We always talk about that whenever it comes to playing games. Now you've introduced being evil and, like, actively doing bad things, so there's a lot that's going to have to go into if you want to play something long-term.
Exactly.
And if you run multiple game campaigns in that setting, put an evil party there, there's a very possibility they're going to break your world.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good.
true.
That can be the catalyst for some fun play, but be cautious.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna build out or like have a set of evil characters and something, I think that the scope of what the goal is. So maybe you don't go 1 to 20, maybe you go 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 2 to 15, whatever. But you
Because
don't
eventually
go all the way
adventurers
up.
will kick your ass.
Because level 20 evil characters could just destroy the entire plane.
Oh, yeah.
You got a wizard?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking that, like, what if our last campaign was evil? We made it to level 20. Like, it was a happy, good old day, but, like, Connor's character could have literally cleaved in half anyone he wanted to.
Literally
No
any
one would have stopped
person
him.
on the
So, like,
planet.
every king dead.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you wanted.
And it is in our setting. So if you take a look at something like the Forgotten Realms, there's a certain distribution of how many strong people there are, how many people roughly as strong as the player characters. In our setting, there are very few people who could stand toe to toe, one on one with a Guardian of the Silver Dawn. They are some of the strongest people around, or at least they were about 40 years ago.
I was gonna say
the average power level's a little bit dipped since then.
Could
The
you
number
tell
has
us?
dipped a little bit since then.
Could you give us a peek behind the curtain? Both of our past player characters, what level might they be sitting at right now? If they're still alive?
They are NPC stat blocks now because the campaign has ended.
I'm gonna cry on camera.
You gave me an NPC stat block.
Yes, I have NPC stat blocks for 4 or 5 different Guardians.
That's kind of fair. We are
lived.
still relevant.
Yeah, you both
Relevant.
survived.
We actually matter.
Wait, guys, we made it through another month here on Stories. It's
Yeah.
February finally.
Oh my gosh.
And in February, we all know that there is only one day that matters in the entire. We have
Oh no,
Valentine's
I have to
Day
take
coming
notes.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
We have Valentine's Day coming up.
Valent-
and,
Oh, I
Google
thought we had a
what
one-shot.
Valentine's
That's what you were
is.
referencing.
Okay, we'll get to the one shot in a minute, but this is something that I wanted to talk about. And I'm interested to hear from everybody at the table, because I've played with all of you before. And I think we all kind of have different opinions, but Valentine's Day is coming up, you know, season of love. And whenever it comes to playing at a table with people, there will come up sometimes maybe relationships. You become friends with people, and there's romantic relationships sometimes that pop up in D&D.
Heart goes pitter patter.
Heart goes pitter patter. And there's various levels of comfort people have. So, for example, you're a dungeon master. Are you going to put a potential love interest for one of your player characters in your story? Or are you going to play a married couple, but now you're going to talk to yourself like you're a married couple? And each player's got their own comfort level with that too. And I wanted to talk about this because it's one of those... I think everybody at the table has a vastly different comfort level whenever it comes to relationships. And I kind of
Fair.
want to hear from you. How do you feel at a table? Like, what's your... You know, like, how do you feel about relationships with your PC?
Well, I will say if it was an NPC, I'd feel like I was flirting with Matthew, and while that wouldn't be too bad.
Oh, no.
Honestly, I'm very cut and dry. I have never been able to conceptualize romance in D&D. You can see it with all my characters. I actually, the PC we were talking about a second ago, did have a child. That was a gag roll, and I didn't think it was serious, but turns out.
Okay, I have to pause Jake here for a
Yes.
moment because of your choice of phrase. What you mean to say is that during our epilogue, you decided, you know what? Everyone's talking about like what they did in the future. Do I have any kids? You rolled a die. Yeah, I think I do have a child.
Apparently, it was
All
evens
of it-
odds.
All it happened off screen with somebody who, like, 20 minutes earlier was an enemy.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And it's now
No, I saved an enemy, and then
I really wanna
we
use-
became friends.
I really want to use Jake as a contrast point here, and note that none of what I'm about to say has any tension between our players. Now, Jake, for his player characters, you have played people who are ace. You have played people who just aren't. That it just isn't important at that point in their life. They're like, I must serve my kingdom.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
you talking about, barkeep or barmaid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like at one point, I was pure
Barboy.
religion. Like all I wanted to do was like, I've got a silver dragon I care about.
I'm
Whereas
old.
That woman is not a silver dragon. She is not on my radar. And like that's just it. The last one, it was a joking role, but honestly, he never did. Unfortunately, maybe never would care. But he met someone really sweet, and things happened. But other than that, I can't really conceptualize or play it. It's just hard for me for some reason.
So you don't necessarily.
playing it is kind of outside of your comfort
So you don't
zone.
necessarily see yourself looking into my eyes when I sit behind our dear DM screen. Thank you again. Now you don't see yourself looking over there, staring in my eyes, and say, "I kiss him."
I would do it as a joke, but I could never, I think, get behind it outside of a joke. And I do think that's a bit of a disservice to any of my characters. But, like, they're all just so... I've never learned D&D like that. And it's not a bad thing, because I think, like, it's been done really well at our table. So, like, I see it, and I'm like, no, I don't hate that.
I got married.
She straight up did. And I loved it. But when it comes to my characters, it's never on my radar. And I don't know if, like... Silas will ever find an elephant lady or not, but he's pretty happy by himself. Eventually, he might go off to paint a picture and die alone, and that's not a bad thing. That sounds bad.
My take on this is really it's going to come down to individual people at the table and individual players. Like I said just now, I got married in the last campaign. and we had a more active role. Like the romance had started way earlier, and really, it was.
No, we
It
saw
was
it grow.
truly a year long court. Like it was like
I mean,
9 months of
had-
courtship
Yeah.
before a relationship really happened.
Granted, there was an entire time like you dedicated a whole
Wait a second.
fight to saving like your partner. I didn't even know y'all were dating at the point, and like you
Right.
had to spell it out for me. That's
I-
my.
It was a
stance on
year of
romance.
courtship and a year of relationship
Yeah,
in
as
that
a
campaign.
bard, I saved all of my uses of cutting words to protect our wizard.
Invisibility too, I think, or something.
Yeah, I used every resource that I had, and particularly like a fight that we were going up against enemies that actively wanted to kill our wizard, who is who my character ended up marrying, was every resource that I had in the game I used to protect that character, and I really liked that. But I've also, for example, with Ismini, it's not crossed my radar that it would be more than Ismini finds a nice noble boy to settle down with and get married after the adventure. Like, it's not the same thing. When building my bard, one of my realized goals for my character from creation was to marry a noble. That happened. So like,
Yes.
my character did what she set out to do. I know
I
it's
could
probably
see it.
bad, but like
I
that
could
was,
see it.
it was kind of one of my joking goals. I wanted some like political intrigue, and I wanted to like marry a noble and like get some more power. And that I didn't realize it in such a crass way, but I did end up doing that. I've played characters that were just weird too. I played a 60-year-old bear wrestling cleric.
That was an amazing cleric.
Right.
Bite your tongue, Sister Agatha.
Sister Agatha was great, but
Loved her.
I see that in that particular instance, that was something that I really wanted to do, and I could definitely, I feel like I could be comfortable with our current table role-playing that out just fine. But
Yeah.
not every character I play am I focusing on that.
I also feel like we should just address something. We're talking about comfort in relationships, and there are. So yes, that's actually the topic. There are so many different levels of this. There are even steps past where Jake is, like far past where you are.
Yeah.
There are people who are like, I don't want to ever have my player character. I don't want them to be flirted with. I don't want anyone to be interested in my character. I don't want to do anything to do with. I don't want my character exists in a sexless void, and that's fine.
Yep.
And it is fine. Sometimes you just want to cut off the eye stalks of a beholder. I get it.
Yeah, and there's definitely, for me, a lot of characters that would fall into that realm of like, that's not what I'm looking at with this character.
You can have a
Those are just the
character.
characters I feel like I build. Yeah.
We've talked at our table. There's been multiple weddings. There have been people who've professed their feelings, but when it comes to anything that's particularly racy, we've got the idea that roles we can make a joke that cool, yep, your character is going to spend you spent the evening partying and such. You tell me where we get to the next day. Where do you wake up? And we might have one of our knights say, well, first I stand up and I have to step over the 4 or 5 people who are lying passed out in the room.
And again, as with everything we've really talked about today, it's a comfort level thing too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At certain tables, I wouldn't be really wanting to make any kind of joke like that, but with the group that we have right now, the occasional joke at our table, not involving other PCs, but just like the occasional like, oh yeah, like
There's been several ships going on already.
Has there?
That people are yeah, we've had people talking about so I actually brought up a thing in the past. People mentioned the thing, what's going on with Chester? What's is there something going on there with Gwynwyn? We've talked about one of the first NPCs we ever met, and our dear is there was a flirty gate guard
Holdo.
with Ismini.
I forgot about that.
Holdo.
That blew me away because Ismini's one of the characters that I'm like, okay, she's gonna get married in an epilogue if she lives. Like that's where I've been with Ismini. Like, because with this character, again, of the list of things, her original concept, she was already married and had kids. So for me, this entire character has just been about it's a long story. She's changed a lot since then. But this entire character, so we get to the first NPC and everybody's like, you're flirting. It's like, I'm not the bard.
Do you think that was that though? Like we've seen Victoria play a bard. We've seen Victoria like have a silver tongue.
I think it
We're
was
just
Victoria accidentally flirted with the cute lady.
Like, it was something you said. I feel like that like had us all be like,
Oh, I curtsied, I think.
that was it. And I think Clella was like, is mean. She made fun of it. She enjoyed that moment, and that was
Right.
like the early moment of y'all's dynamic, like almost sisterly, but like one of them cuts a little too loose, and the other one's a little too straight. I think that's where we saw it. She was kind of teasing, and then unfortunately from there,
Clella might have something going on with Ililie. We've got something.
Oh, yeah.
She's been given some. Ellie's been
Right.
given some sword lessons to an Eltian.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Oh yeah, very much so. But you know what? I'm gonna say it though. I'm still shipping her and Jared. I said that out
don't-
loud.
Wild.
I said that
Chloe,
out loud.
they're gonna kill you.
Oh no!
Just saying.
It's gonna be amazing. He went to Jared's.
For my comfort level, I have had a child with Connor.
That's true.
I should mention that.
That's
That
amazing.
a regularly appearing NPC in our last campaign was Connor's character's bride, and another one was his daughter, who at that point was 18 or 19 years old by the end of the campaign.
Oh God, how
who
old is she now?
So I've had to play where I had to talk to Connor, where it was like he's in the fatherly role, someone who ended up being a source of why are you fighting? You know, being teaching lessons too.
And it was an example for me getting to witness it, where it was very much.
He made an honest woman out of her. It took so long for him to finally get married in that campaign.
Yeah.
He started as a hermit, is what I remember.
He did start the campaign as a hermit, but it was interesting to see their dynamic too, because it was a very different. I mean, I was getting specially made hats for Ibra and like standing around corners watching her open boxes of presents, and then for y'all, it was very much like two people having like a very firm but like sweet conversation. It was like, yes, like I will come back to you, and like we will spend the day. And
Their whirlwind romance was in his backstory
Right.
of this person. He was a low merc. She was the shining knight. They fought in a big battle, and at the end of a battle, everyone's covered in mud.
jeez,
I
We're
don't
just
think I
people.
wrong
understand
with you?
the
Okay, let's
I didn't mean anything inappropriate. I just meant like
Move
that
past.
battle brings people together.
I don't think that's how that works. It usually, I feel like, drives them apart.
They were on the
Like,
same side of the war.
Okay, that helps
Yeah.
a little
Yes.
bit. I thought it was.
That's
Romeo and
actually
Juliet.
fun fact. That's in Galeport, which is a couple days west of Eltz.
But it would be very.
Oh.
But I think also that with our party, any flirting that there's been has been very jovial and joking, or has
Oh,
been
yeah.
like behind gift giving. So there's been some.
Who is a Don gonna end up?
No. Well, I mean, I also like keep in mind all of our characters.
So-
We're pretty young for our age. Like I think
Yeah.
just hit adulthood.
Yep.
Did hit adulthood. Technically got aged a few years, but just hit adulthood. The only like actual adult is the one that you quite literally said like, I have a job, I have a life, I have a goal. Marriage isn't there right now. Maybe
Right.
in the epilogue, but like the most driven of all of our characters, I feel like, is the only one that isn't that cute little flirtatious like dip your toe in the water maybe at the most.
Right. It's an interesting party.
Oh yeah.
It definitely is, and there was some fun in our.
I think
last
so
campaign.
too.
Yeah. No, but I like this conversation
Can't wait
because
to try them all.
it is one of those things. Whenever you are playing at a new table or you're playing with people that you played with for a long time, it's one of those things you may not think about always. Like, okay, a good example, honestly, would be Roll for Romance. They got together. It's what's on the tin. They know what they're doing in that campaign. They all commit to it, and they're all comfortable with what they've been doing in the campaign that we have seen so far. They're like, yes, this is our campaign. We're gonna flirt with each other and with everybody, and it's gonna be fun. And I like that energy, and I like that they're all into it. But if you took maybe somebody from this table and just popped them in there, the dynamic would have to change. Each
Exactly.
person's an individual, and it's good to have conversations like this with your table to really learn, okay, that's a whole extra aspect of creating a character. We aren't in the days of just hack and slash all the time. We have relationships outside of that.
I think I'll put a cap on our romance conversation until we talk in the very near future. But I'll leak one little thing of a little spoiler of the ultimate love, the true love, the soul bonded, destined heart.
Silas and his hammer.
Bowles, but who Bowles is going to end up with will be a long time before Mr. Ack comes back and professes his undying love for one of our players.
It'll be Connor.
No,
It'll be Thorn.
I hate to admit it. You're probably right. He made him a drink.
You'll never see me coming.
He is kind of short. Yeah.
Kind of short.
No.
You know, we're coming close to the end here. I think can we finally announce who won the drawing this week?
Please, let's do
Please.
it. I'm sorry to
So
save it for the end.
I'm so excited to say that Jen is actually going to be our winner for this month. We had Victoria and I when we did our drawing beforehand, we saw the result. We made eye contact. I'm very excited to see what Jen is going to be coming up with for this month, what she'd like to have made. Jen, of course, is one of our dear friends here and actually has made an appearance on the show over during our Halloween one-shot as our first ever guest. And so I'm kind of happy that so early we're going to get to have someone that people have seen. Maybe, just to guess here, maybe we'll get a higher form of our dear Lady Galehelm. And perhaps maybe a stronger but NPC format of that character, as they are one of the leaders of the Royal Guard.
Yeah, she exists in the world.
Yeah, she's still an
Currently,
NPC.
so.
Ecat and Beanie.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I'm excited for Jen to make a character. It's probably going to be very Jen-inspired. Oh, sorry.
Oh my gosh.
What? I thought he would be very, very, generous with her stats.
But so we had this last bad puns. This last month we had Ecat over there with Trebor, and we're gonna see in about a month's time what Jen and I end up coming and revealing. And again, all of this stuff is gonna be put on our Discord. We're gonna have more information available in the near future.
DM.
Hey, that's me.
What if what's the limits to what I can ask for?
This guy.
Now, so we're assuming that you drew you won the drawing.
My name has been drawn.
Your name has been drawn. So,
what are we looking at here?
Generally speaking, and this is all we're gonna work together, but the bare minimum. Let's start with that.
Okay.
You're going to be able to ask for an NPC stat block. So the bare minimum is you're going to get a stat block for a type of enemy that you'd like. Now, if you're unsure and you want to put the trust in me, Matthew, take the wheel. That's absolutely fine. But if let's say you're a dungeon master and you got an upcoming BBEG that you want to run, you know what he's going to be like as a person, but you don't know what kind of stats you want to go with that's fine. If you say, I have a place that I'm going to and I want to put some sort of monster there, here's the environment, I can absolutely work with that. Maybe you want a little help with that, the flavor for that? I'm happy to make a little bit of a story for the character, blend that all together, maybe talk a little bit about what sort of encounters would work best for this. Depending on how complex and involved and how powerful the NPC is, it may just be the stat block, or maybe be able to go a little bit more in depth, like we have the backstory of Trebor and his location within our setting.
I'm sorry, I just realized Trebor is stinky.
Yes, Trebor is stinky.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Uh-oh.
Look, you really put a lot of thought into these. You really set them up inside and out.
Now, do you think we'll ever... Jake!
I'm sorry, I had one more. I had three to go
I
through and
am
you're cutting me off.
curious if we'll ever see Lorak making an appearance.
Potentially.
Trebor is known to have at least one companion, occasionally who visits without being stabbed by his trusty All.
Can you hear the Lorak? That was the last one. I'm sorry.
It wasn't. You're a liar.
You're a liar.
Jake is a liar.
Will I be invited back?
We put up with this all the time. We're going to turn the cameras off, and Jake is going to start releasing the rest of the puns.
I haven't been on stream in a bit. It's like a 2-week backlog. I'm sorry.
Speaking of the stream, we only have a few more minutes here.
finish.
Okay.
Guys, the heist. This week, big heist. Meanie Callister has been invited to a major fancy event at one of the High Lords of Elts. The party has been recruited by the vigilantes.
You're a noble.
You recently received the favor of the crown. It would be
right.
rude to disrespect such a thing.
Ah, that's fair. How are you gonna make a heist lawful good for me?
Lorak is a mighty wizard.
So
Now, not all of the party necessarily has to go in through the front door dressed in fancy duds.
okay.
Wait staff, guards,
Nope.
maybe bribe a few people.
Hey, no spoilers,
Honestly,
but watch
a general or two.
But watch that. What was that, Victoria?
Watch The Legend of Vox Machina because I'm really feeling like
Oh my gosh, watch The Legend of Vox Machina, absolutely.
I'm really feeling like a particular character right now in this. So here's the thing. We have L. We're thinking about who's going in through the front door, right? We have L. L is technically a noble, right? But behavior, maybe not so much. Technically considered a higher noble than me in my mind, but behavior, meh.
Just dye her hair black, put her in like a servant's robes, have it be a personal attendant. It'll be fine.
Literally, absolutely no
I thought that's what
possible
we were
way.
doing for me.
Second, we've got Gwynwyn. Gwynwyn's okay, but Gwynwyn blows things up on occasion, so a little nervous.
Just
there.
take Gwynwyn's tools away.
Under no circumstances.
You know what? If we take her spellcasting focus, what is she other than an angry short person?
I know you're a short person that would go into the kitchens and find something to blow us up with.
It's kind of fair. There is gas in the kitchen usually.
There's a lot
Now,
going on.
Silas, typically a heist, especially one run by a phantom thief such as the Lionheart, is, well, subtlety is normally used for a time. How are you going to be subtle, my dear Loxodon friend?
That was my question. Or are you gonna? Oh. I had an idea, Silas. I had an idea. It's gonna 2 birds, 1 stone, maybe 3.
I'm gonna go tell the guards that there's a heist. No, I'm kidding. Mostly. I'm kidding.
Okay, no.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we have the serial killer, right?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about the serial killer. Yeah, the serial killing. Serial killer is killing people who do artistic things, right? And
Yes.
painting pictures of their bodies. And the murder scenes and all this stuff, right? Okay, cool. You paint.
Yes.
Do you have any experience in painting, like event painting? So like you go to a wedding and there's a painter there and they paint the first dance?
I mean, what you would want to probably do is talk to Iris first and see if you couldn't get Iris to...
No, you're the painter.
I know, I was saying, like, get Iris to be a recommendation. Like, you have the note.
You're not following her.
I'm
God,
going to
no.
bring you to this event to come and be an event painter that I have under my,
Jurisdiction. That's not the right
employ.
word.
I've brought you here because we are from the north, and
Yeah.
That's so darn clever.
so now you're
Okay.
a public artist who's doing event painting. So
Oh,
now
you
you're
want
busy.
2 birds, 1 stone?
Are you the caricature guy they bring that shows up at every
boardwalk.
pier?
Yeah.
Every board. Yeah,
On the
exactly.
boardwalk.
Wait, so I just have to make caricatures?
No, you don't.
Finally, I get to draw Elle's nose correctly. It's huge.
The audacity.
Am I the mean one?
You are the mean one.
You're the sassy one.
No, you know what? In this moment, unfortunately, I have to be the mean one. You're gonna hear more about this plotting, more about the craziness that's gonna be happening this heist on Friday.
I had such a good idea, too.
All week we'll be posting. We've got some. You know what? I think we're gonna end up posting. We got the fancied outfit versions of our various characters who are gonna be coming to the
Oh,
party.
yeah.
But more importantly, this Friday, 7:00 Central, be here for session 20 of Stories to D4: The Elts Saga. We have all sorts of fun hijinks planned for you, and I am desperately excited to see how my players try to get back past all of my defenses. You all have been a wonderful crowd. Jake, we're always so happy to have you. Either of you have anything else before we head out?
No, I could talk about the heist for another 2 hours.
We've been muted this
Unfortunately.
whole time. What's that?
Yeah, probably. No, nothing to add other than happy Valentine's Day to all of you, and I can't wait to see you Friday.
It's not yet Friday.
Is it not?
We'll be back very soon, everybody. Good night.
Later, y'all.